So we doing something for your social studies?
Yeah, it's a government class.
Okay.
So, uh, so the teacher, he made 7 questions that I'm supposed to ask you, and then I had like 3 to 6 of my own at the end.
Okay.
But he wants me to start with like some basic demographics, like
Okay.
age, gender, education, profession,
Okay.
maybe a country of origin if you're an immigrant.
All right. So I'm 49 years old,
Okay.
African American. I have a bachelor's degree in human services. I'm also a licensed massage therapist. I'm originally born in a really rural area in Alabama. And my dad is, if I'm going too fast, just let me know. Yeah, but my dad is retired Air Force, so I had an opportunity to kind of travel around. So I've lived in Northern California, I've been to Spain and Germany. So yeah, so I feel like I've got an opportunity to see the world a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. So did I leave anything out? What else is it on?
That's pretty good.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so I'll start with the questions the teacher made, but he made them, so I can't really elaborate on like the whole intent behind some of them. Like,
Yeah, it's okay.
based on the way they're worded. So first of all, in your lifetime, what would you say was like the biggest like policy change that the government made?
All right. A policy change in my lifetime. Well, I guess you could say right now, I think they're turning the Roe versus Wade, reversing the Roe versus Wade. I think that would be a big one. So that now women won't have the right to get an abortion if they want. Obviously, I wasn't born when they. I don't believe I'll have to look it up. I'm not sure, but like Brown versus Board of Education. But like I said, I would think that recently, the most recent would probably be the return of the Roe versus Wade.
Okay. So next, at what time period / age were you at, and you started to really notice how important the government is in our lives, or how much it affects us? For a lot of people, my teacher says that for a lot of people it's when they have to start paying taxes.
Okay, that's a good point. I would say for me though, it was when I went to college and when Bill Clinton was running for president the first time. That's when I started feeling like I was paying a little bit more attention to what was going on in the government.
Was there something big going on at that time, or was it a really important election?
So at that time, what was the big deal back then? That's a tough one. I would probably have to cheat on that one. I'd have to, because I feel like I would have to look up the time, because that was the first thing that came to mind when I said Bill Clinton. I was also what's his name? O.J. Simpson, and there was a big trial going on O.J. Simpson. So so there really wasn't a specific policy. It was just more about at any time in history you can always kind of look at the where everybody stands on racism, and so that's why I'm using that as that was the O.J. Simpson trial was a big thing, because I would see people on campus that obviously wanted him to be prosecuted, and you had people that was for him. So just that right there started a lot of social debate. There was no social media back then, so the social debate came from classrooms or at the workspace or whatever, talking about some of those things, how people felt about it, and all they got was the news was the only outlet, you know, that you got your information from. You know, maybe you got some stuff on a computer, but I think that's the best answer I could give you as far as what comes to mind right immediately.
Alright.
It's just the social injustice. And it's something that you can always pick that. And any time in history, that's one of the most consistent things that's always an issue is how we relate and interact with one another. So yeah, so the OJ, so I would say the OJ trial and how people responded to that was a big deal to me.
Okay.
I don't know if that best answers your question, but that's the one that I feel like I can speak on.
Oh, no, that's a good answer. And so this is one of those questions where, you know, it's like, I feel like the teacher worded it kind of weirdly.
Okay.
So it's, were there any specific people who made you aware of current events?
So, so I went to a HBCU, historically black college, university, and I had an opportunity to meet Rosa Parks. I had an opportunity to meet Coretta Scott King. Rosa Parks actually went to my college, to where I went to. So she came to the college. I mean, yeah, she came frequently. So my college experience, you know, you're gonna probably hear me like reflect back to that a lot, because that was the time I had opportunities to, like I said, and I almost got a chance to meet. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Betty Shabazz. She was married. She was the wife of Malcolm X. And she came to one of my colleges as well, but I didn't get a chance to meet her. So I bring them up because the voice of black women. Like obviously you have a black mom. You know what I mean? I have a black mom, and I think that hearing them talk about, you know, just life and things like that was that had a very big impact on me. I wish that I could say it made me more active in doing things in the community, because it's all about doing work in the community and stuff like that. So I wish that I'd done more in that way. I did, but I just probably would like to do it a different way. So having an opportunity to meet Rosa Parks, you know, meeting Coretta Scott King, being able to talk with them, and they had a big impact.
Alright.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so next, now this one, it's kind of similar to the first one, but like, are there any of the government policies that have or had in the past like a very big impact on your life?
So my first answer to that is to say no. And the only reason I would say that is because I think the older that I'm getting now, I'm able to, I used to feel like nothing that the president did ever affected my life. That's what I would initially want to say. But obviously, again, as I've gotten a little bit older and I've understood how sometimes things can affect you, you know, you don't even know it. But I think that I'll probably reread it again. Say it again. Just want to.
Are there any government policies that have or had a very large impact on your life?
Okay. Is the one? What's the name of that one? So in college again, but this time I was probably in junior college. So I would say the impact that affected me was, you know, I could have went to college. Could have played sports in college, but because of my grades and my score on the like the ACT, SAT, there was a coach by the name of John Thompson. He used to coach at Georgetown University, and he was very big on you know, discussing how the tests were like. And I don't mean to make everything sound racial, but this is just the stuff that's coming up.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so it's probably other things, but these are the things that I feel like are coming up. So I'm just looking up the specifics so you can use that. use that specific deal. So okay, I'm just gonna read it to you just so you can hear. So it started actually as Proposition 42. If you want to write that down, there was a protest of Proposition 42 where he was arguing a proposed rule which would have required athletes to meet certain SAT and GPA benchmarks for scholarships, and it was discriminatory against black athletes and other minorities. So he protested that. So I think that was one of the things that could affect it. If you have a 2.0 grade point average, but you don't do well on the test, then that could affect you going to college. So I think that was one that affected was a direct, because I went to junior college before I went to college because of my grades. So that instead of me having an opportunity to go play college basketball, at a different school, I had my GPA, I passed, I graduated, but I didn't do well on the SAT. So.
Okay.
So that's that.
Okay, so next, who was the first U.S. president that you can remember, and is there any particular reason why he might have significance to you remembering?
I would say Ronald Reagan, just because I think I had gotten to an age where, I was old enough to at least kind of recognize who he was, and really the impact. I kind of have to go forward to explain, because I actually had friends that thought Ronald Reagan was the best president in the world, and for me he was just the president. I didn't look at him as Republican or Democrat or whatever. I didn't have any feelings towards him to dislike him or anything like that. But the big thing then, they had a campaign. His wife actually probably was the one that came up with the Say No to Drugs. So they made a big push on the crack epidemic was really bad during his presidency, and so that was a big thing then, where they were just trying to really start, especially in DC of all places where the president is. They had some of the worst crack violence and gangs and stuff kind of rose up out of that, So just the Say No to Drugs campaign became the new thing that we had to learn in school. So that would be him.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so next, now considering how you've seen how the media evolves over time, do you think compared to back in the day, are people more or less informed now?
So I think that we're probably more informed. It would be easy to say that we're more informed, not necessarily because obviously there's social media, there's TikTok and things of that nature, but I would say more so because like I said, there's just so many different outlets that you can get information from. It's not just this is a joke, but when I was a kid, I thought if I read everything in the encyclopedias was a big thing back then. So I thought if I read the encyclopedia from A to Z, I would know everything in the world. Obviously, that's not the case, but I would say that we have just because of the opportunity, the exposure for more information. Like you would think that the newspaper would almost be obsolete, but there's still a lot of good information that you could get from a newspaper that if you're just looking for something specific, I don't know what your favorite thing is, but if you just go to your phone and just look at something, you're gonna miss a lot of things that you would catch in a newspaper that you might not have even read or knew about, because it's in your hand and we can see it, but now we can go to our devices and go right to what we want to talk about, what we want to know. So I would say that we have the opportunity to be more informed. We just have to be able to navigate that better.
All right, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so next, Now, if you could advise any of the presidents on one like historical event or choice, then who and what, and maybe why?
If I could like say that one more time, make sure I understood.
So, if you could like advise any of the presidents
From the
about
past? Or,
yeah,
okay.
at any point in time, even the current one maybe,
Mm-hmm.
about any choice or events, like who and what would that be? Maybe why?
That's a good question. Mm, you said president too, huh? Hmm. I guess I would say I guess I would have to say President Obama. And the only thing that I would, as far as advice would be, was I think that that would have been a good opportunity to. I don't think it's necessarily his responsibility, but I think that having a predecessor or having somebody that's going to precede you, I think it would have been. I wish that that was some kind of way that the Democratic Party would have prepared better after. You know, because Obama gave us 8 years, so in that time span, I wish that maybe that would have been a little bit more of. Because I think that the reason I picked Obama too is because I really wanted to say Hillary Clinton, but she didn't become president.
Right.
And the reason I'm picking that is not necessarily because I don't have any like I don't want to say bad feelings, but if you look at it, you know, Donald Trump was able to win the presidency because it feels like the world's not ready, or this country's not ready to have a woman president. So I think that I just wonder if we would have just picked, maybe just that process would have been done differently. That maybe things would have went a different way. That's all I got.
Okay.
Yeah, because obviously for me, I'm not picking on Donald Trump, but the COVID happened. I don't believe COVID would have happened if he was president. So I don't know if I should say advise Trump, but I don't believe that COVID would have been what it was because we had things in place that would have kept that from getting bigger. That like it did. That's just my personal opinion. So.
I get what you're saying. All right. So next is the three questions that I made.
Okay.
So first, do you think that like in our lifetimes the national debt will ever be like directly addressed?
Yes, I actually think I'm hoping that that's going to be something that I think that Trump has a good opportunity to fix that. I don't believe a lot of things that he is doing, but I do think that's going to be something that we have an opportunity. That's the word I keep using, opportunity, for the debt to be resolved. If things, there's some things going on in the world right now that might surprise some people in the near future that might answer that question before the end of the year potentially. So, but we just have to wait and see. I'm not saying that it's going to be like completely wiped out, but I do think that there's an opportunity for the debt to be resolved. I do.
All right. So next, do you find it like concerning like the amount of eligible voters who choose not to vote, or they either choose not to or they don't care?
Say that one more time.
All right. Do you find it concerning like the amount of eligible voters who don't vote? Either out of choice or they don't care.
So I have to tell you that growing up in my time period, that it was always taught for me to get an education and to vote, mainly because of the fact that was we were losing the right to do so. Like even the women's right to vote was potentially been almost taken away. So for me, the answer is going to be yes because of the fact that you know, a lot of people died to have the right to vote. A lot of people suffered and struggled because they didn't have the right to vote. And then you're also leaving your future in the hands of someone that might not have your best interest. So I'll always think that, yes, I think that people should always see voting as a serious thing. Just because, like I said, just because of my generation and where I came from, the people before us always stressed, like I said, getting education, vote. There's just certain things that, you know, we always felt like we had to do, you know.
Is that because like the generation before he was like during a couple wars?
So yeah, so my dad and I had uncles and uncles that actually were in Army and the Air Force. So my dad was over in what was that? Operation Desert Storm. I can't for some reason I want to say Kuwait. That's not right. I'm trying to think of the name of it. It might have been Iraq. I can't think of the name. But anyway, my dad was over there during that time. So it wasn't like a major war. It wasn't like World War One or nothing like that. But my family has been involved in some wars. You know what I mean? And we had to worry if they were gonna come home or you know. So what was the question again?
Well, it was about voting and the eligible voters who don't vote.
Okay. I thought you asked a different one after that. That made me ask.
Oh no, I was just like asking you to elaborate.
Oh, okay.
Because you were my generation before you, they was stressed you gotta vote.
Yeah, definitely. The generation before me, yeah, definitely. I mean, but even though I'm saying that, I know a lot of people that told me that they didn't vote until Obama, or they didn't vote until this current election. You know what I mean, or one before that. So that's really like, just think about when you're gonna be eligible to vote, and how many presidents. It's getting to the point where there's been, I can't think of it in order, but I want to say Clinton, both Bushes, and Obama. I think that's the one. So that would be like you didn't have any say in like 4 or 5 presidents that took office, and you didn't even participate. You know, so I even have we have a family dispute. Maybe you possibly do as well. I don't know, but there's people not speaking to each other because of this political climate that we're in, and some of them didn't even vote. So it's almost kind of like your vote becomes your voice, right? So so if you and you always gonna have your voice. You can always speak out, but it's very difficult to have a conversation with someone if they chose not to vote and they speak passionately about stuff, but you didn't take the time to vote. It almost makes you not want to listen to that person, even though you still should, But when you don't vote and you complain, that's the first thing people are gonna say when you didn't vote. You had your chance, and you didn't take it.
Right.
So.
Okay, so lastly, would you say that you would still support the government even if their decisions or policies conflicted with your own personal or moral beliefs?
So the quick answer to that is yes, because number one, I am a grandson of a former police officer and military service. And I just told you I have my dad, my uncles, my aunt. I have a lot of people that were involved in serving the country. And I didn't get the opportunity to do that, but I wanted to. But because of a medical issue, I wasn't allowed to serve my country in that way. But that is something that I took a lot of pride in. And I think a lot of times now, I can't really speak on what's going on in the military right now, but say a lot of people, if you decide when you finish school, if you were to make that decision, a lot of people made that decision to serve their country through the military. Because number one, that was almost kind of like guaranteed a job, but now there's so many other things that people do. A lot of people don't see serving their country like that as much anymore. So, So the answer is yes, even in spite, because I think that's what we have to do. You know, you know, like we people believe that we live in the best country in the world, and so if we were to go anywhere else, there's a lot of rights that we wouldn't have there. You know, so even though I don't agree with everything that might be even going on currently, I still want to be able to respect the office, respect the position, you know, respect the authority. I might not always agree, but I'll try to do that.
All right.
Mhm.
So that's all the questions.
That's cool, man.
Thank you.
That's cool. So you have to present this in front of the class,
No,
or you write a paper on it, or how do you have to?
the point was that I had to record the interview and then, you know, turn it in to the teacher, you know, as proof that, you know, I did it.
Okay.
But, you know, it's supposed to be very insightful, which
Okay.
which it was. You know.
Okay.
Your answers were actually very thorough.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that, man. Well, if you don't need me no more, then I guess that's it, huh? I appreciate you. Thank you for letting me do that with you. Yeah, I enjoyed the interview. That was fun. You have a good rest of your day, man. All right.
You too.